There really is one thing that I've learned as a professional musician that I use way more than anything else. And honestly, I don't think you could even call yourself a professional musician without knowing this. So that's why today we're gonna be breaking down the Nashville Number System and showing you how to use it.
Nashville, Tennessee.
All right, so quick history lesson for you.
This is not the frug, the monkey, or the jerk. But with the music explosion in recent years, country music too went pop. Nashville, Tennessee, the country and western music capital of America. Where once mountain people sang their songs in isolated valleys, there now stands a music kingdom resting on a booming entertainment and recording industry that tops a $500 million gross per year.
So the Nashville Number System is an idea that, as the name suggests, originated with the touring and gigging musicians in Nashville. When backlining for various artists and vocalists, keys to popular top 40 songs would have to move around quite often depending on the vocal range and other instrumentation. So because of that, gigging musicians needed a way to communicate chord changes regardless of what key a song was being shifted to or played in. So instead of mentioning specific chord names like A minor, they would call out a number like 6. Assigning numbers to chord progressions allowed musicians to easily communicate chord changes regardless of the key signature. This system has actually been widely adopted by nearly every type of genre and instrument since, especially in the worship music scene. In fact, if you've seen any of the tutorials that I've posted on this channel, you've probably already seen me use this system. Each of the Roman numerals that's listed next to the chord name is referring to the Nashville Number System. That's so you can learn chord progressions instead of learning chord names. Honestly, it's rare when we schedule a song for a Sunday morning where it's going to be played exactly how it was written in the original key. More often than not, I have to transpose the guitar parts into a completely different key. So how do I do that so effortlessly, right? Honestly, there's actually a bunch of different techniques that I use to help me figure out what the lead lines are gonna be in the different key. But the starting point is always learning the progression of the song in the Nashville Number System. That's because the Nashville Number System stays the same regardless of what key signature you're playing in. If a progression is 4-1-6-5 in the key of D, then it'll still be a 4-1-6-5 no matter what key you're playing in. So if you're playing in the key of A, guess what? 4-1-6-5. Now, if you're confused, don't worry, I'm gonna break that down for you. So you've probably heard professional musicians talk about progressions in terms of numbers like I just did. Well, that's exactly what this is. They're referring to a specific chord within a scale. In this example, I'm going to use the key of D just because, honestly, simply, I just like that key. So we're gonna do it. But using the musical alphabet, if you mark D as your first note in your scale, because you're in the key of D, then D will be your 1. This is also known as your root note. Then going up, E is the note that comes after, so E is gonna be your 2, and then F, but since we're in the key of D, it's gonna be F sharp, so that's your 3, and then you go up one more, G, that's your 4, A, your 5, then B is your 6, C sharp, which is your 7, and then it circles back around to D, which is your 1. So I hope that helps. You can kind of just numerically go up your scale. So instead of saying the name of the note, D, E, F sharp, G, A, etc., you can associate a number with it. So you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can count up. So that is where the stem of the Nashville Number System comes from. So basically, you're just assigning a number to the chords based on the root note of your scale. It's also easy to remember that number 2 and number 6 are always minor chords. And sometimes your 3 will be 2, but it depends on your scale and the context. So your 2 chord in the key of D is an E, but since 2 are minors, it's not going to be an E major, it'll be an E minor. Same with your 6. So instead of B, you'll be playing B minor. So let's say that in the key of D, we have this chord progression that is going to be a G, D, B minor, A. And you're in the key of D. So we've learned this song that has this progression in it. But then you see that the song that you learned wasn't actually scheduled in D, but instead they scheduled it in C for some reason. Well, how do we transpose this? Well, for starters, let's think of the number system. We know that D is our 1 because that's our scale, so D is going to be your 1. B is minor, so that's got to be our 6, right? And if you need to count up from D, that is totally fine. Everyone's got to start somewhere, right? So if you count up from D, like I was saying, it's D, E, F sharp, so on and so forth. Well, so you'll count up. If F sharp's your 3, then G would be your 4, and then A is your 5. So the G, A, that's your 5. We know that B minor is your 6. So if we did G, D, B minor, A, like the chord progression suggests, then that would have to be your 4, which is the G, D, which is your 1, because that's the root note of the scale, right? B minor, that's your 6. And then A, which is your 5. I hope you're tracking with me so far. At first, it can be hard to memorize all the numbers and how they go in the scales. So at first, like I said, you'll have to count up from D, and that's totally fine. Eventually, after years of playing and after years of using the Nashville Number System, you'll memorize them and it'll be a second nature for you. But everyone has to start off with counting chords, so you're totally fine doing all that. But now, let's figure out what those chords and those numbers are for the key of C. Obviously, C would be our 1 because that's the root note of the scale. So we've learned the song in D, we're transposing to C. C is our 1. And then counting up, D would be your 2, so that's a D minor. 3 would be E minor. F would be your 4. G would be your 5. And A would be your 6, so that's an A minor. So to play a 4-1-6-5, it would actually be F, so that's your 4, C is your 1, and then 6, your A minor, 5 would be your G. So the same exact chord progression would be F, C, A minor, G. It's the same chord progression, just instead of the key of D, you're playing it in the key of C. So again, that's 4, 1, 6, 5. But now you can take that concept to any key and play the same progression. So you learned the song in D, but say it's a female song and then we're doing it with a male vocalist and they want to shift it to A or shift it to G. That's no problem now, because you learned the song with the Nashville Number System. You know it's a 4-1-6-5. So if you play in G, it'll be 4-1-6-5. One tip that really helped me out to learn this quickly with these numbers is that when I first started, what I did was I just used power chords. A power chord is just your 1 and 5. So if you play a C power chord, that's something that pretty much everyone knows. So that's a C power chord. I would just know that this is my 1 because that's the root note. So that's your C. And then the next note would be your 5. So you can octave map that to figure out that, okay, so this is the 5, octave map that to here, that's your G. So now you know that in the key of C, you have C, and then here would be your 5, G. So G's your 5. And then the more common notes are your 1, your 4, your 5, and your 6. So now you already know your 1 and your 5. Well, a whole step down is your 4. So that's got to be F, if 5 is your G, and then going up a whole step, 6, that's got to be A. So a good starting point is always just figuring out your power chord, and then you can move around from there. If you need to know your 7, well, then here's your 1 of your power chord, then you're just down half a step, there's your 7. So I hope that helps kind of kickstart that journey of the Nashville Number System, because that's what really helped me. After just years of playing through this, you'll get it and it'll become second nature. So if you have to change the key of the song and the MD says, hey, we're in the key of A and we're going to do a 4, 5, 6, 1, right? You're in the key of A. So you can figure out, okay, let me do the power chord thing. A is going to be your 1, and then this is your 5, so that means E is your 5. That means D is going to be your 4. And then F sharp minor is going to be your 6. That's a really easy way of figuring it out. So in the key of A, you're going to be playing D, E, F minor, A. So that's going to be your 4, 5, 6, 1. So this system is genuinely common language for our musicians at my church. Whenever we're in flowing moments or ministry moments where we have to be prepared for anything, we always communicate with each other through numbers. Sometimes our MD will call out for hits on a 6, 4, 5, and you just need to know how to do that. And a personal tip on how I learned this for lead guitar is I've figured out a few different patterns based on triad shapes that I like to use. I'll either strum through them as chords, or I'll use them as like root notes for lead lines. So for example, I know that all 4 chords that we were playing through earlier in the key of D are located, I can play them like right around here using triad shapes. So when they call for a 6, 4, 5, I know that I can play those chords here. Or I can play it as single note lead lines. So a 6, 4, 5 would be a B minor, G, A. So I can play that as... If you want to know more about triad chords, I'll have a video where I'm going to break down different triad shapes and how easy it is to actually use them. I'm also going to show you how almost every lead line in a song can be traced back to a triad chord shape. It's actually a really interesting video, so you should go check it out. But basically, that's the Nashville Number System. I hope that made this concept a lot easier for you. I know that it can be really daunting or confusing up front when you're starting to learn like systems like this or theories like this. But once you start getting your head around this and implementing it into your playing, the system really is a game changer when you begin to use it. If there's any tips or tricks that you would like to add, please leave them down below, because I love to see everyone's process with this. I love to see how everyone's mind thinks of this concept differently. And honestly, who knows? Maybe your comment and your way of thinking will help someone else as well. Thanks for watching and subscribing. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one.